There is a specific type of paralysis that infiltrates the human mind when it perceives it has been wronged. It does not feel like anger. It feels like gravity. Your thoughts orbit a single point, a face, a moment, an injustice, and suddenly the entire architecture of your future is built around a past you did not choose. You convince yourself you are planning, calculating, waiting for the perfect moment to balance the scales. But you are not moving forward. You are standing on a treadmill, burning your own biological fuel to generate a phantom momentum. We are taught that this obsession is a passion, a fire that fuels greatness. It is not. It is a hidden mechanism of self-destruction disguised as justice. And while you are expending your finite cognitive energy constructing a phantom to strike down, there is a completely different type of human walking among us. A human who experiences the exact same betrayal, the exact same visceral sting, but who never orchestrates a comeback. Not because they are morally superior, and not because they lack the capacity for violence, but because their internal architecture operates on a frequency that makes the very concept of retaliation obsolete. What exactly happens inside the brain of a person who completely bypasses the need for revenge? And why does that make them the most terrifying force in any room? To understand this, you have to look at what actually happens when you are betrayed or humiliated. You assume the pain comes from the other person's actions. It does not. The pain comes from the sudden shattering of your internal narrative. You had a story about how the world works, about your value, about your safety. When someone crosses you, they do not just take something from you. They demolish the architecture of your reality. And the human brain cannot tolerate a fragmented reality. It demands coherence. This is where the invisible trap snaps shut. You believe your obsessive plotting is aimed at your enemy. It is not. You are obsessively trying to rebuild your own shattered sense of order. Revenge is not a weapon you use against others. It is a psychological tourniquet you apply to your own bleeding ego. Think about the last time someone deeply wronged you. You did not just feel sad. You felt a compulsive need to replay the event. You would be driving, or eating, or trying to sleep, and the scenario would hijack your consciousness. You would win the argument in the shower. You would deliver the perfect, devastating remark while staring at the mirror. You thought this was preparation. From a psychological standpoint, this is a stress response hijacking your executive function. Your brain misinterprets a social injury as a physical predator. In the ancient environment where these neural circuits were forged, a loss of status within the tribe meant death. You were exiled, starved, hunted. So when a contemporary adversary deceives you, your primitive brain sounds a survival alarm. It screams that you are being cast out. The urge to retaliate is not a calculated strategy. It is a panicked, flailing attempt to prove to your own nervous system that you still have value, that you are still safe, that you still exist. The hidden problem is that the revenge you seek is an illusion. You are trying to soothe a neurological alarm by fighting a ghost. And while you are busy fighting that ghost, you are slowly surrendering the one thing the perpetrator actually cannot take from you. When you are wrong, your brain immediately begins a chemical negotiation to manage the shock. The initial spike of stress floods your system with cortisol, putting your body on high alert. To escape this unbearable tension, your brain releases a highly specific type of dopamine. This is not the dopamine of reward. It is the dopamine of anticipation. When you fantasize about destroying your enemy, your brain gives you a subtle chemical hit, a microdose of relief. It whispers that balance is coming, but this is a neurological trap, because the dopamine is tied to the fantasy of the strike, not the execution of it. The moment you actually achieve your revenge, the dopamine flatlines. The satisfaction lasts seconds, and the cortisol returns, because the underlying narrative of your vulnerability has not actually changed. This creates a devastating loop of attention. You are compelled to keep the perpetrator in your mind because your brain is using them as a makeshift pacifier. But here is where the science turns ruthless. Through the mechanism of neuroplasticity, your physical brain begins to rewire itself based on where you direct your focus. Every hour you spend rehearsing your grievance, you are carving a deeper neural gorge. The perpetrator is no longer just a person. They have become a structural pillar of your brain's architecture. You have literally built your own neural pathways around the person you hate. This severely degrades your executive function. The prefrontal cortex, the part of your mind responsible for rational decision-making and long-term strategy, is overpowered by the emotional memory of the trauma. Without realizing it, your identity subtly mutates. You stop being the author of your future and become a character defined entirely by the injury of your past. The dangerous man who never needs revenge understands this neurobiology intuitively. He realizes that striking back does not sever the connection to his enemy. It solidifies it. Instead of fighting the chemical urge, he simply starves it. He recognizes attention as a finite physical resource, a literal biological currency. He refuses to spend his neuroplasticity on someone who does not serve his trajectory. By denying the grievance his attention, the neural pathway begins to atrophy. The stress response has nothing to feed on. His executive function remains entirely unclouded, leaving him with a terrifying clarity that the revenge-obsessed mind can never access. If we elevate this neurobiology into philosophy, we find that the dangerous man does not just possess a different brain. He possesses a completely different ontology. If we view the world through the lens of Arthur Schopenhauer, this individual recognizes that the person who wronged him is not an independent evil entity, but simply a confused, friction-filled manifestation of the same blind, striving force of nature. To obsess over their malice is as irrational as hating the weather for destroying your crops. You do not seek revenge against a storm. You simply build a stronger shelter. But this man goes much deeper than mere detachment. Carl Jung would point out that our cultural obsession with villains and revenge is actually a psychological projection. When you desperately want to destroy someone, you are unconsciously acknowledging their power. You want to steal their agency because you feel you have lost your own. The dangerous man has already integrated his own shadow. He possesses his own capacity for ruthlessness, so he does not need to project it onto an enemy. He does not need to rent out his aggression to an external villain. This reveals a profound truth often misunderstood about Friedrich Nietzsche. Society teaches that the ultimate expression of power is the ability to crush your oppressor. Nietzsche argued the exact opposite. The desperate need for revenge is the ultimate confession of weakness. It is the tantrum of those who lack the strength to transcend the injury and create their own values. The truly powerful individual does not react to a slight. They are so consumed by the construction of their own inner empire that an insult from a lesser mind is mathematically irrelevant to their existence. To strike back would be to step down from their own mountain to wrestle in the mud. This culminates in the existential realization championed by Viktor Frankl. Between stimulus and response, there is a space, and in that space lies our freedom. The dangerous man who never needs revenge has expanded this space so vastly that the actions of others simply cannot bridge it. He is not turning the other cheek out of passive morality. He is operating on a completely different coordinate grid of reality. But what does this look like when applied to the extreme pressures of human history? Look at how this manifests when the absolute titans of human history are pushed to the brink. In 1911, the French press and the scientific establishment launched a coordinated, vicious campaign to destroy Marie Curie. They weaponized her personal life, deploying a mob of xenophobic and misogynistic attacks, literally screaming for her exile from academia. The standard human response to such a profound betrayal by society is to fight the narrative, to write furious defenses, to seek a social retaliation that forces the attackers to admit their lies. Curie did none of these things. She understood that engaging in their arena would make her a participant in their reality. She simply went silent to the public and retreated into her laboratory. She directed her entire cognitive focus back to radium. While her enemies spent their days writing venomous editorials, she was meticulously isolating radium chloride. She won her second Nobel Prize the exact same year they tried to erase her. She did not forgive her persecutors. She simply outbuilt them, making their entire existence mathematically insignificant to the forward march of science. Centuries earlier in Japan, the swordsman Miyamoto Musashi demonstrated this same terrifying autonomy. He was ambushed by the Yoshioka Sword School, who broke every code of honor, attacking him with dozens of armed men instead of a single fair duel. A lesser warrior would have been consumed by a burning need to publicly shame them, to demand a formal apology to restore his bruised ego. Musashi felt no such urge. He recognized their dishonor not as a personal insult, but as tactical data. He adapted, manipulated their arrogance, and annihilated the entire lineage of their school with cold, surgical precision. Afterward, he did not gloat, he did not demand submissions, and he did not look back. He just kept walking. To Musashi, their betrayal was not an emotional wound. It was simply friction in the geometry of his environment. These figures were profoundly dangerous because they refused to validate the weapons their enemies chose to use. By ignoring the social and emotional games of their attackers, They strip their enemies of all power. To bring this into your own life, you must completely abandon the modern obsession with closure. Closure is a myth sold to people who want an excuse to remain tethered to their trauma. When you are wronged, the practical shift is not to try and stop feeling angry. That is impossible. The shift is to change the exact question you ask yourself in the aftermath. The ordinary mind asks, what is the appropriate retaliation? How do I balance the scales? The dangerous mind asks a fundamentally different question. Does this person possess the ontological weight to dictate my internal state? You must actively demote the offender in your mind. We have a habit of elevating our enemies to the status of arch-nemeses, granting them an immense, undeserved power over our neurobiology. You must strip them of this rank. They are no longer a villain. They are a flat tire. You do not seek revenge against a flat tire. You acknowledge the inconvenience. You change the wheel, and you continue driving toward your actual destination. When the obsessive thought arises, when the brain tries to offer you that dopamine hit of fantasized retaliation, you must catch it and label it for what it truly is. It is not righteous anger. It is a neural parasite attempting to feed on your finite attention. You do not fight the thought. You simply recognize it as a misallocation of your biological resources and consciously redirect your focus back to the construction of your own life. You starve the phantom. Imagine being the person who wrongs a man like this. You brace for the counterattack. You lose sleep fortifying your defenses, certain that a strike is coming. But the strike never arrives. And as the years pass, you are forced to confront a deeply unsettling truth. He is not forgiving you. He is not suppressing his rage. You simply no longer exist in his universe. You fired a bullet, and he walked through the smoke without looking back. The most devastating realization for an antagonist is not that they are hated. It is that they are entirely irrelevant. We spend so much of our brief, flickering consciousness handing the remote control of our minds to people who do not care about us. We allow minor thieves to steal not just our peace, but our future, simply because we are too proud to walk away from the scene of the crime. The man who never needs revenge has discovered a profound and terrifying secret about the architecture of human existence. You cannot be destroyed by the actions of others. You can only be destroyed by your own reaction to them. The ultimate question of your life is not whether you have the capacity to defeat your enemies. The ultimate question is whether you possess the depth to build a life so immense, so undeniably your own, that the very concept of an enemy simply evaporates in its shadow.